the maximum lifespan.
When it hits zero.
When everybody is dead.
Right.
And for the human population, that's about 110, minus an occasional outlier. Now, this survival curve, it can be changed in animals, and you can move it out to there by calorie restriction.
So you can actually extend the maximum.
You can extend the whole curve, including the maximum lifespan. If this were applicable to humans, it would be the same as extending the human curve out to 140 to 150.
And what is the primary characteristic of that extension? What is in the animal diet?
The animals are, well, it's a low-calorie but high-quality diet.
Of course,
so it's kind of a starvation on a healthy diet. You could call it that.
It doesn't sound like fun, but it may be worth it. There are, of course, dangers in extrapolating from animals to humans too quickly.
Well, it's been done. It also, at the moment, there are 3 monkey colonies going in the United States.
That's not this program, by the way.
Not this program, but our close relatives, anyway, at 3 different universities. They're showing the same extensive physiologic changes that animals do on that kind of diet, which is health-enhancing.
So all you're doing is restricting calories. Are you making any other changes in distributions of fats, carbohydrates, proteins? Are you adding supplements? Are you eating any type of special foods in any way?
Well, you have to do it in such a way that you're not deficient in any vitamins, minerals, or other essentials. If you just eat less of the normal bad American diet, then you pretty soon get into vitamin deficiencies and so forth. Well, of course, that will not extend lifespan. So it has to be low-calorie, nutrient-dense. And I think there is pretty strong evidence now accumulated that this will work in humans, too.
It takes an enormous amount of self-control to essentially, in a controlled fashion, starve yourself, in that I can imagine some of the primates in those colonies saying, oh my God, I've been selected for the restriction diet, and I'm going to live 25% longer as well.
In this cage.
So I think that the ideal, and there's a lot of research directed in that, towards that, is to understand the biology of what's really being what's causing the longer lifespan that is being provoked by the caloric restriction, and being able to emulate that in some way, pharmaceutically or otherwise, or genetically.
Well, it's not something that everybody can do, but some people can.
French, you said before you don't believe in any of this diet stuff, or a lot less. You getting convinced? Maybe we're going to take away some of your dinner?
No, I absolutely agree with Roy's basic point, and also of Art's, that human beings are part of nature, and if one does what are really very logical things in terms of not overeating and so on, that certainly is helpful. But I guess my concern is that there is so many nutritionists who claim so many things that if you do low in carbohydrates, or low in salt, or low in commercial sugar, or low in this or low in that, or you take extra vitamin pills or so on, that this is going to in some way do something good. And I think that is so much less than simply leading a very active physical existence.
So if human beings are part of nature, as 2 of my scientific colleagues have said, why do we want to increase that lifespan? Considering the delicate balance of the ecology of this planet on which we live, why do we want to take one species whose elderly we're already having massive problems dealing with, and increase the number of elderly? It's not as though we're increasing the number of people who are 35 to 50, the most productive members of our society, or I like to think 65.
It gets older every year.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Why are we expending so much time, money, societal, scientific, government resource in attempting to destroy our ecology, our social system? What is the great benefit of living longer?
This is the classic tension in human existence.
There are 3 illusions to what you just said.
Start, and then I'll try to.
3 illusions. One is that we're increasing the population a great deal. The problem with the population is overbirthing. That leads to an exponential increase. everybody just stops dying. It's a linear increase. If we started from prehistoric times and nobody died at all, but each person only had one child, the linear increase, we would now have 500 million people on Earth. Whereas because of the over-earthing, we're going up to an enormous degree. So that, I don't think that's enough of an argument. Secondly, what you're saying is the most modern example of apologism, which has plagued gerontology since the beginning, and that is mankind has always had to find a reason to make death acceptable. Like religion, you don't really die, you go someplace. Stoicism and so forth. There have been all sorts of apologism since the beginning, and this is the latest one, that it's bad for the ecology. But,
so what are you saying? That death is inevitable at some point, but if you could live to 140, that's better than living to 100?
Yes.
So what's your apology for staying alive till you're
Well,
140?
because I want to.
Greg?
The other
Wait, he's got a third point to make.
Okay, the third point was that older people, if you extend lifespan, you're extending the period of activity, not the end of this curve, but this portion of the curve, if you move it out to there. So these people that are 100 are going to be like today's people of 40 or 50
That's
are.
the hope.
Well, I think it's the reality if you extend it by something that fundamentally retards the aging process and you move this curve out.
Shep, you talk in your book, How We Die, about death with dignity, that this is something that's people talk about but really doesn't exist in the real world, and that death is very difficult. Do you think longevity research will help the process of death that we all face as human beings?
Well, I like to think that research on life expectancy will, in the sense that it will compress some of that curve of suffering before death, instead of the gradual tapering off, we are already beginning to see changes in quality of life such that instead of dying slowly over 5 or 6 years of some degenerative disease, people are going along quite well and then dropping off over a relatively short period of time. That's actually the life expectancy, longevity research that at the present time with finite resources I'd like to encourage.
What are some of the fads and fallacies that we see in aging research? You can't open a magazine and look at ads or go any place without an enormous, it seems like there's more stuff around about aging than about religion, Roy.
Well, I think the main problem that we have so many fads is that you can make a good argument for a number of things that they ought to influence aging, like vitamin E. For example, you can make an argument if you look through the vitamin E literature that it ought to influence aging, but when you actually give it to animals and run a test, it doesn't.
You brought up the issue of why there are so many fads and all these nostrums, and the real reason is because we crave a longer, healthier life so deeply, and so there's money to be made in the field. And that is why, if we actually achieve are able to unravel our biology sufficiently that we can intervene to retard aging, we will almost certainly do it, whatever the concerns are about the larger social issues. It's too compelling a temptation.
That's also the cause of the fads, because people want a quick, easy solution to what is a problem. It is how you conduct your life and how you live your life on a day-to-day basis. It has nothing to do with some magic pill that's going to change it on some permanent basis.
And how about some of the new medicines, melatonin, DEA?
Well, again, they have not been shown in animal experiments convincingly to increase maximum lifespan, which is really the only test that fundamental aging has been retarded.
But so many people are ingesting this stuff.
Well, you can make an argument that it ought to work or might work, and so people make that argument and persuade other people to take it. But the people who do that should, I think, do animal experiments first, and they don't do it generally.
Shep, what are some of the specific benefits of exercise, particularly to retard aging?
Well, one of the very specific ones is a slowing down of osteoporosis, an actual increase in bone density. The way that works is that as you build up muscle, it increases the stress